Hello again, long time no see. It's been a while since I made a video. Here's something a little bit different. Let's excuse any wind noise. It's like a wind tunnel down here through the side of my house and through the garage. But it's my Triumph Bonneville. I've got a couple of leaks. Some might say that's not unusual on a Triumph, but let's see if we can cure them. There's one here. There's an O-ring on the rocker shaft. It's leaking oil. And you can see there's a bigger oil leak down there, push rod tube. I got it up and running till the year, and because it's not been running for a few years, there's one or two oil leaks sprung. The other one's my own fault. I nicked the clutch cover gasket when I replaced the clutch, so there's a little oil leak there that I need to sort out. But the biggest one is this one that chucks out a lot of oil, goes down there. I don't want it ending up on my back tyre and throwing me off, so yeah, I've got to take the head off. So first thing I've done is I've undone the breather, let's swing round here, oops, there we go, the oil pipe on the oil feed. Obviously taken the carburetors off. This is a T140E, usually has parallel carburetors, but as you can see I put angled rubbers from a TSS. It's either a TSS or a TSX, but I fitted splayed carb rubbers on to give a bit more angle, because the spine frame, that's actually the oil tank as well. It's a very tight fit with any filters or anything like that. Obviously the exhausts have also come off, and the head steady which goes across there and to the frame. Now I've taken the front rocker cover off. I need to basically loosen the tappets. Not sure if you can see them, it's a bit dark this side. I need to loosen the tappets and then take the rocker boxes off both sides. I've got an Allen key there, so I know where to look for it. That's AF 3/8 Allen key. There's a lot of AF parts on this, as you'd imagine. I'm going to put that rocker cover on the front. I'm going to paint it black and polish it where it says Triumph on there, because I think that'll look pretty cool. Right, next stage is get these rocker covers off, these rocker boxes, and then I can undo the head. I've got a lot of new gaskets ready to go, O-rings for the push rod tubes. Front one is still doing fine after all these years. I last had the head off about 15 years ago, if not more, but yeah, something like that. So it's been a while, but it needs doing, so needs must. Right, let's crack on. As you can see from the tank, it's not a pretty bike. It's not a show bike, and that can also be evidenced by the pipes, which have a good level of rust on them. Anyway, there's the valves with the rocker cover off. You've got three nuts that come from underneath. Same on this side. Had to take the rubbers off and go bareback, basically. So undo those nuts. Two small Allen keys. Two, I think they're 9/16 or 1/2 inch bolts, and yeah, that'll pop the inlet one off as well. I've not got a leak on the inlet side, so that's alright, but I might just clean everything up. And you can see the push rods there. Not find them on a modern engine. Cams are deep buried within, under there, basically. Hard work to change. You know, you can really pep up the performance on one of these by sticking in an exhaust cam that matches or gets near to the inlet cam. They detuned them by having a wild inlet cam to keep the torque down, and a very mild exhaust cam to keep the top end horsepower down. So you got the worst of both worlds with that. You could do with a slightly less wild inlet, because that's a full race inlet, and a slightly wilder exhaust cam. Let it breathe a bit. But I think the exhaust cam on this is standard. certainly seems that way by the way it pulls. Pulls alright, you know, no worries there. So I'll get this off and then we'll undo the head. You've got to do these in order. When you're tightening them, you start from the middle and work your way out, but I'm going to work from the outside and work my way in, and hopefully prevent the head from warping. And got the various bits down there for the push rod tubes. Time to get my hands dirty again. There we go, that's nearly ready to lift. You can see some bits of remnants of gasket there. Now the push rods, you'll see that they are concave and the tappets are convex that fit inside each one. Now if you get these mixed up, there might be slightly different wear on each one, so as they then bed into the non-matching tappet, you get all sorts of wear. You're constantly setting tappets, it'll drive you to distraction. So, bit of cardboard, exhaust right and left, inlets right and left for the appropriate push rod. Push them in there, keep them in there, and yeah, yeah, you'll thank me later. So basically, let's start. Come on, out you come. So there you go. Front, well, exhaust left. I'll have to make bigger holes for that actually, but yeah, you get the concept. There we go. 4 push rods in their assigned place. It's also worth pointing out that these are the same on the opposite side. They're also dished on the bottom that fits in the cam follower. So yeah, if you get them wrong way up as well, you can also compound your issues. So make sure the top side is this. We'll use this as the top. I'll have to remember that that's the top. Of course I will, because it's me that's doing it. And yeah, they should fit in exactly where they came. And once I've set the tappets, I'm not having to do it every couple of 100 miles. Well, not beyond the standard sort of thing anyway. I tend to set them every 500 mile or thereabouts, and I'll probably have to retorque the cylinder head after 500 mile as well. Anyway, next job, head has to come off. Great fun. There we go, heads off. Those are the pushrod tubes. Oh, they're actually, I'll see if I can clean them up, but they look a bit manky. Might have to invest a bit more money there. But it's amazing what you can learn when you take the head off. Now according to this, my left hand cylinder, so if you imagine this being inverted, for my left hand cylinder I've got a very nice plug colour, which I could have checked anyway, but the exhaust valve's the right sort of colour, whereas on the right hand cylinder I've got a very sooty plug and a sooty exhaust valve, so I'm running a little bit rich on the right hand cylinder. I'll have to remember that and tweak my carburetors ever so slightly. You can get Johnson's colour tunes that replace the plug, you know, you can use them to set the carburetors, but it's hard work with modern petrol. You don't get the same sort of coloured flame. Right, I'm not taking the valves out, I'm just basically curing oil leaks, so my next job is to clean everything up as best as I can. Get these pushrod tubes off and get rid of some of that cack. I think I'll need some brake and exhaust cleaner for that. Weight Triumph pushrod tubes from a T140E. Similar top end to various ones, the bottom's different. There isn't that step, there's just a flat bit. So at the top, your O-ring, your specific O-ring, these are heat proof ones. Goes over there, and that bit goes up the hole in the head. Meanwhile, over the basically bottom part of where the pushrod tube would be, the cam followers, this goes over the round bit there on a spigot. This collar then fits around that. They call that the wedding ring, but it's just a collar. And this flat surface, when the head's clamped down, when the head's bolted down, squashes that O-ring out against this collar, tightening it in place, holding it in place. In theory, making it oil tight. Triumph's on oil tight, who'd have thought? Hottest year I'm doing this, it's about 31-32 degrees here. centigrade. Very hot for northern England. Right, first job, get this red washer on there. I'll need 2 hands for this, so bear with me. Okay, now the wedding ring, so I can do this one-handed. Slides over the top of that, and just make sure that that's gone in that slot. There's a recess all the way around, so just making sure that that band has gone in that reset and is seated well. Might need to use something to drift it in slightly, just to make 100% sure. And then bottom part slides. Come on. It's a bit of a tight fit, that. What's going on there? Oh, see if that's a better fit over to this side. It's a tight fit on either. Got a new one today, I might have to get another new one. Alloy one, fits straight over. Right. Looks like I might be buying a new alloy push rod for both ends. Right, so that goes down there, crushes that rubber washer, or pushes it against that metal strip, causing a seal. Right. So I need to get the push rods in there. I need to find out what's going on with this other one. Make sure it's round. Okay, so we've got the push rod tubes in position, and the rings are lubed up a little bit. Let's lube them up a bit more. Metal bit in the middle of the gasket, facing upwards. Pistons, I've cleaned as much of the soft carbon off as I can. I could mess about with wire brushes, and brass brushes and auto sol. I'll be here till the cows come home trying to get a good shine on them. Would it be worth it? Possibly. Next job is, depends how much of a perfectionist you are. Next job is to put my push rods back in place, and as I've marked them, they'll all go back in the right place. Right, that's next, and then I need to get the head on. Great fun. One quick tip regarding the push rod tubes. So these awls, try and get them so that they are at these angles, going diagonally across the head, if you will. And basically I will show you why later. Try and do that with both so that they'll just lined up that way. Right, that's the head fitted on, right way round. Made sure the push rods are still in their little cups and cones sort of things down at the bottom. The gaskets hold them in place, and you can test if you take the plugs out so you're not squirting air around. Basically you can kick the engine over by hand with a kickstart lever, and you can see these go up and down on each side, and as long as they're doing that, you know that they're in the right place. You can't wriggle them about on the bottom. So they're in place. There's just ever so tiny bit of wobble on that, which will probably, hopefully, not want the head. Once I start tightening everything down, that should nip up the O-rings in here and here. Now then, I'm not sure if you can quite see it, but these holes I mentioned before, if you have them at the 45-degree angles rather than at 90 degrees, if you have them like an X, they will scavenge the oil a bit better. One problem with Triumphs particularly, if you have them on the kickstand and these don't line up, you get a big pool of oil near the valve. They don't have seals like modern bikes, so yeah, you end up with a smoky left pot if you've got them on the side stand. But yeah, it's just a way of getting the oil going round freely. Some people may argue, they might say that it's better if it pools, but in my experience, nah, prefer it like that. Right, like I say, it's no beauty queen, but I'll get it up and running. Does me alright. I'll try and get as much done today, because tomorrow's going to be even hotter than today, so I'm not looking forward to that. So yeah, next stage, get the bolts and washers on and just get them up finger tight, I think. Okay, heads on, and basically just everything's all lined up. I've made sure the push rods are all lined up, the gasket holds them in place. Got all these finger tight. Next I start torquing them down very slowly and in sequence, starting from the centre and working my way out. And to enable me to do that, with these I've made a tool. Basically chopped the end off an Allen key of the correct size, 3/8 in this case, 3/8 socket, and I can put that just enough room there for, can't move this without the paper blowing away. There we go, just enough room to get a torque wrench in. So, time to torque them down. Okay, everything's torqued down now. The centre one's 16 pound-foot, foot-pounds, however it's whichever way around it is. How to convert it to Newton meters for me torque wrench. The outer one's 18 pound-foot, foot-pounds, whatever. So yeah, that's now all torqued up. Did it in sequence, correct sequence as per the manual, all the way around, and kept just increasing it by a couple of foot-pounds every time, and yeah, double checking as well. So that's all torqued now. Next thing is to put the rocker covers on, but before I do that I need to sort out the O-ring, because that's a leak, and I've got a special tool for that, but I need to take a little bit off there because it's pinned over where someone's trotted it in with an hammer. Generally you need to use a soft drift to drift these out and in, so soft drift tapping it that way, soft drift to tap it back in, and I'll need to get it out a bit more, then I can take a file to it, get the tool on, get the new O-ring in place, and tap it back to where it belongs. Then get rid of the gasket, the old gasket that's gone brittle, and yeah, line up the good old push rods, make sure everything works. Need to do that on both sides. I'll do the exhaust side first and then the inlet, or maybe I might do the inlet first actually, because that doesn't need this doing. Right, time to crack on. Okay, now then, to put this on I need to get these push rods both down. So I need to kick the engine over, and the eagle-eyed among you will realise that's why I've kept the spark plugs out. Right, so that is both down, and the corresponding opposite one has gone up. Right, now we can get the rocker cover on. Rocker cover, as you can see, I've cleaned the gasket surface, both sides, so I'll just slide that on, and I'll need 2 hands for that. Right, got it on, just tightened up the tappets quite loose, so I can flap them about a bit. What I'll do is just tighten the cap on, just with these 2 cap nuts here, cap bolts, and turn the engine over slowly, just to make sure everything seems to be working okay with the valves. Right. Oh, I've just remembered I've not shown you how to get that O-ring replaced. And basically, you remember that this was bashed out a little bit, pushed out from the other side, pushed it out a bit further, about 1 inch, and then once I filed the burr off the edges, excuse my shoddy camera work, put this special tool over it so that it was protruding. Now this is tapered inside, so once it's pushed over, get the O-ring on the shaft and then tap it back in with a soft drift. This squeezes the O-ring to the point where it gets in there, and doesn't nip or tear or get pinched or pulled out, or just goes in. It works, simple but effective. Any Triumph dealer will sell you one of those. well, any old Triumph specialist anyway, old British bike specialist. So that rocker cover is fit to go back on. So likewise, as I did before, I shall adjust these, oops, so they're actually sat on their tappets, well, on their cam followers. Oh, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Hard work. Zoom out a bit. Hard work to do this and hold the camera at the same time. Seems only one's going down and up, so one's probably not on its oh, blimey, it's got a long way down. Let's see if shit, I'm knocking tools all over the place. Check, check and check again. Right, we'll have to switch the camera off. Right, those push rods are in place now. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Oil pipe in the way. Right. Problem is you've got to get the tappets to try and line up. Easier said than done. And that oil pipe's getting on my wick. Right. Again, I'm going to need two hands for this. Right, it's on, and I've just nipped it in place with these two. Tested it, nipped the valves up so there's some sort of gap, and basically turn the engine over by hand slowly. It's amazing how much more difficult it is just with the valve springs on either side, because after all there's no compression to fight against. No plugs in it at the moment. But yeah, it's working. Everything's seated, everything's in place, so I just need to tighten everything down there, and yeah, cooking with gas. We're getting there. So it's these two, an Allen screw either side, and underneath you've got 3 nuts that go there, the middle and the far end. When I've done that, just need to set the tappets. The last art of setting tappets. Basically you've got a screw, oops, which adjusts the clearance. Get your feeler gauge in the correct clearance. In this case, on this engine, it's bizarrely a wider clearance on the inlet than the exhaust. It's 0.08 of an inch inlet, 0.06 of an inch exhaust. For reasons, yeah, known to Triumph basically. But yeah, it's to do with the cams that they used and the cam followers, you know, the ramps that they use on the actual lobes and such. But anyway, that's a tight fit on the feeler gauge. And this one next, so I shall pull out and just adjust these until that one comes. Not the easiest thing to do by hand, actually. Oh, there goes my torch. Right. Glad I've not put the plugs in, this would be really difficult. Right, just give me a moment. Right, this valve is now down, this one is up, so I can let's unwind that a little bit, because at the moment it seems to be nipped up tight. Right, so just have a little bit of clearance on that. Just that'll do. and get the feeler gauge. Between the tappet and the valve. There we go. Now if you're on a modern vehicle, you've probably never done this, and you probably never will. But yeah, I brought up in the days of cross-flow Fords, BMCA and O series engines, Land Rover 2 1/4 petrol engines. Yeah, they all need doing, and of course Triumphs. You know, this is the second Triumph I've owned. British bikes certainly need it doing. And to be fair, a lot of the old motorbikes I had, you know, the 4-stroke ones, certainly needed various adjustments. So yeah, right. What I need to do now is nip this one up until the feeler gauge is just about moving. You feel the tension on it, but it's not nipped up tight, and then tighten the lock nut. And then what I'll do is I'll turn the engine over a couple of times and just check all the clearances again, just to make sure everything's spot on. And then I can crack on with the build. It'll just be a case of covers on, well, and a gasket on this side, carburetors on, exhausts on. Before that I might actually take this cover off and yeah, sort out the gasket there, because it does give a bit of a leak. It's not a major leak, but it's while I'm doing all this I might as well crack on with that as well. Need to get head steady bolts in, or head steady studs, and bolt the head steady on, and then we're yeah, good to go. Light at the end of the tunnel now. I've got both rocker caps on. All the cables in place, the head steady is on. Helps keep vibration reasonably under control. It's not too bad as long as the carbs are balanced, to be honest. Not as bad as they make out. Next job, get the carburetors on. Tidy some of these tools up. Execute next door's kids who are making too much noise. And this goes on the other side of the head with a couple of new copper washers. It's the oil feed for the rockers. Right, so I'll get those on, then the exhaust, and it should be up and running. Although I might leave this exhaust off just so I can attend to this leak, and then I'll be up and running. Light at the end of the tunnel indeed. Well, that's the side cover off, the primary drive cover. There was a leak from down around here somewhere. Basically I pinched the gasket when I put it on. I put the cover on, clutch cover on and gasket after I'd done all this work, after I'd put the foot peg on, which was on reflection not wise, so my own fault. So this time I'll put the gasket on, make sure the surfaces are nice and clean, grease both sides of the gasket, and yeah, fingers crossed, eyes crossed, legs crossed, you name it. Hopefully no more leaks. Got the 38 degrees before top dead centre timing mark there. Just checked it with timing wheel against the stroke of the piston, and it seems pretty close. We aren't messing around with dial gauges and stuff, so that's not too bad. Earlier Triumphs had a bolt behind there somewhere that you could undo and poke something down to engage with the flywheel for top dead centre and 38 degrees before. Modern fuel, I tend to run it a little bit retarded, so 36 degrees, so yeah, knock it back 2 degrees, and it seems to work well at that. So that'll get covered up again. Lovely SRM clutch billet plate, 7-plate clutch, all adjusted to run through, and yeah, that O-ring is still sealing, which is always a bonus. Right, next.
Like you had any doubts, it's alive.